glad you're still with us. Thanks for choosing News Central every time. This second half of the conversation has been carefully curated by the show's producers. Now, just over a year after Kenya was hailed as a strategic ally, the U.S. Senate has launched a sweeping classified review of its major non-NATO ally status. The move raises serious questions about Nairobi's ties to adversarial powers, extremist groups, and alleged misuse of U.S. military aid. At stake is Kenya's access to advanced American defense technology and intelligence cooperation. With Senator James Risch warning of a bond notice against President Ruto's, Washington's trust in Nairobi is visibly eroding. Now, as global eyes turn to East Africa, the question is Kenya still a reliable partner, or has it crossed the line in the shifting sands of geopolitics? My guest for this conversation is Associate Professor of History and Pan-African Studies, Gnaka Lagoke, from the Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. Doc, thank you very much for being here with us. Given that Kenya became the first sub-Saharan African nation to receive a major non-NATO ally status, joining just about 18 countries globally, has Nairobi demonstrated the democratic values and responsible military conduct that this designation demands, or has it merely inherited the title without the accountability it implies?
But anyway, so first of all, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for inviting me here in the show. When Kenya was given or granted this, that status of non-NATO ally, it is because the United States in that geopolitical war against Russia and against China wanted to extend its territorial domination over the world, and particularly in that region of Africa. We've seen the President Ruto in recent years showing his desire and his willingness in order to be with the West. As we know, Kenya sent some police officers and troops to Haiti at the request of the West, particularly the United States, hoping to have closer ties with the United States. And then even though Kenya has always had some good relationship with China, commercial and economic ties in recent years, but with Donald Trump, the reality is different. Trump does what he likes to do. Either you are with us or you are against us. And then this is what Trump is doing with the tariff wars against Kenya. And now, when we saw, we were not, I don't think Americans were hoping that by giving that state going to live up to some democratic principles. I don't think that was the deal. The deal is to have an African ally as a non-NATO member, non-NATO member or non-NATO status. Oh no, this is what I wanted to say. So I was a little bit confused with the status of Kenya. It's not like they are member, but they gave them, that title. So I was struggling with it a little bit. So this is what I can say.
Yeah, if the relationship with China, for instance, is well known, I mean, the debt profile between these two countries is quite huge. What do you think is behind the U.S. Senate now demanding full transparency of these entanglements? Because prior to now, there was an existing relationship before they just became a non-ally last year.
Yeah, so that last year, like she said, last year it was Biden administration. But even though Biden, the former president of the United States, wanted to make sure that they keep Kenya in the corner, it is under Biden that Kenya decided to go to Haiti in order to join that multinational forces, multinational force against the gangs in Haiti. But Trump has his own ways of doing things. And then he thinks that he can use that war on tariffs to go and then subdue or coerce leaders in the world. So same thing with Kenya, same thing with Brazil, same thing with Russia. So that is Trump. This is what he's doing. Now, one of his allies in the Senate decided that they needed to review that memorandum of understanding or that agreement they signed with Kenya. So it is, I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I think that it shows two things. That even though people like us, we do not have a special or particular admiration for Ruto, who on one hand talks like a Pan-Africanist, and on the other hand wants to please the West. Just to give an example, with the presence of Kenyan forces in Haiti, but at the same time, be Ruto or be any other leader in Africa, African leaders want to have the right to choose their political, diplomatic, and economic partners. And that's the reality, and Donald Trump cannot change that.
Let's look at the cryptic declarations by Senator James. On the one hand, he said he declared the Operation Hand of God has been triggered, and then he went on to warn of a global burn notice against William Ruto, suggesting a severe intelligence downgrade. So is this Senate review driven by verified threats that is known, or is it a preemptive strike rooted in Washington's growing anxiety over Kenya's diplomatic, some would say, flirtations with Russia and Iran, including hosting Iranian delegations twice in 2024?
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. I know, the empire always strikes back. So we know that. So the U.S. has always done that since, the Cold War. What I'm saying is that American leaders, they have different styles, right? So, for instance, with the issue of the International Criminal Court, what George W. Bush did was different from what Barack Obama did with regard to the International Criminal Court. And then what Donald Trump is doing with the ICC is different from what Bill Clinton did with the International Criminal Court. In the case of the relationship, in the case of the position of the United States in the world today, the U.S. does not want to lose its power as the global or the biggest world power. And each leader in the United States is using what he can use as a strategy. In the case of Trump, he thinks that by bullying people, by threatening people, he can somehow coerce people. This is what he's doing. But the reality is that, like I said, even though Ruto is not the type of leader we want to see, leading an African nation, but Ruto and many other leaders want Africa, to have the choice to choose its partners. That is the point that I'm raising.
So in light of Human Rights Watch's documentation of 78 forced disappearances in Kenya between 2023 and 2024, how credible do you think the allegations that U.S.-supplied intelligence and aid have been misused for renditions, torture, and extrajudicial violence? How credible is that information? And if that is true, what are the safeguards that should exist to prevent such abuses under the MNNA protocols?
So I'm going to be straightforward with that point. Everyone knew what happened in Kenya. People were protesting against the financial and economic reform that President Ruto undertook. We saw the human rights violations, and then today, I think, I don't like that word, but I'm going to use it. I think the Republican senator wants to use those elements in order to have a credible position to invite the Senate to review the protocol of the Kenyan statute with NATO. So it is a blackmail, and then they want to use that as an element of pressure against William Ruto. Of course, we knew or we know that there were human rights violations. We have denounced that. Many people denounced that. But we did not see the United States. People may say, okay, maybe because Donald Trump was not there, but, we see what is happening in Gaza, and he has a different position. We know that there are human rights violations almost everywhere, even in the United States under his leadership. But I think that they want to break someone. They think that they may lose, who may go on the other side, on the side of the Americans' adversaries. That's why they're doing that.
Considering Kenya's deployment of 1,000 troops to Haiti in 2025 under the UN mandate and its long-standing role in counter-terrorism operations against al-Shabaab, could this Senate review inadvertently undermine Nairobi's peacekeeping credibility, especially when the amendment itself acknowledges Kenya's vital role in global stabilization efforts?
This, I'm going to tell you that I don't know what those Americans will be doing because we don't know. We don't have a clear idea of the American foreign policy since Donald Trump came to power. So they may understand, those in the Senate, they may understand that they need Kenya in the fight against terrorism. They may need Kenya in the eastern part of Africa as a military strategic ally. They may do that. But at the same time, they may also, they may not give some of the weapons maybe that they were supposed to deliver to Kenya. But at the same time, I don't think that Kenya is going to renounce to the deal that they have with the United States. I heard that in a few days, maybe in few days, there will be a Kenyan delegation that will be coming to the United States, certainly to try and ease up the tensions.
Is the U.S. Senate applying double standard in this scrutiny of Kenya's human rights record when they are maintaining MNNA ties with countries like Pakistan, which has faced similar allegations without triggering a formal review, particularly when the amendment insists that operations must remain within the bounds of international human rights law?
Yeah. Anyways, this is what they always do. I wrote a book on the Laurent Gbagbo's trial and the International Criminal Court, a Pan-African victory. The references that I gave about George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump with regard to the way they were interacting with the International Criminal Court. America has always done that. I'm talking about the West, double standards. When, you are close, when you guys are close, then they don't look at the human rights violations. As soon as they have the feeling that, you are walking away or that you want to express your freedom, like Ruto may want to do, then of course they use it. That's the same thing. That's why I laughed or smiled. We know what America is doing for those Arab countries. They cannot tell us that, those countries are respecting human rights the way according to international standards, but at the same time, they have some strong ties. And Donald Trump, of course, America under Donald Trump has some strong ties with that region of the world. So double standard, like I said, in this particular case, it is because they want to bully Kenya and they want to subdue Kenya, and they want Kenya not to express its right to freedom, to trade with any other region, particularly the other region that is coming today as a powerful bloc that we can see in the BRICS region, or China, which is supposed to be, according to some predictions or some forecasts, the next biggest economic and commercial power in the world.
What are the real-world implications of the Senate's call to investigate whether Kenya has become a financial safe haven for sanctioned individuals, especially given that the U.S. Treasury's OFAC SDN list includes over 1,500 entities from East Africa, many of whom allegedly operate through Nairobi's increasingly opaque banking networks?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What are the real-world implications, that's what I'm asking, of the Senate's call to investigate whether Kenya has become a financial safe haven for sanctioned individuals, especially given that the U.S. Treasury's OFAC-SDN list includes over 1,500 entities from East Africa, many of whom allegedly operate through Nairobi's increasingly opaque banking networks?
Oh, I think we are in the world of sovereignty, and then I don't think that the sanctions that America may want to take against Kenya will prevent any country to find the ways, the means of its survival. Again, the question is that, like in line with some of the previous questions that you asked, the problem here, it is how America or the West uses all types of means in order to advance its neo-colonial agenda. In the case of Kenya, they can talk about human rights. They can talk about the way that Kenya has been like a safe haven for sanctioned entities. It is the same rationale, and then it is not going to change anything because Kenya or Ruto is looking for ways to survive politically. And if China can help him, or many other entities or agencies that America seems to see as their enemies, I don't think that this is going to prevent Ruto or Kenya to do what they have to do.
Prof, that's all the time we're allowed for this conversation. Thank you so much for speaking with us and sharing insight on the subject.
Okay, thank you very much.